take it, sit down and write it.
Well, the hour's really counting down now until the huge fight here at the National Stadium at Wembley in London on Saturday night. Tyson Fury, Dillian Whyte. Michaela, you're loving it over in Britain. We can't get rid of you, and we don't want to. We're embracing you. You're back, and it's some show to be back for.
There's such a great energy coming here to the UK around boxing, and especially around women's boxing. They're embracing us so much here. It's huge, and it sort of makes me like reflect on what it would be like as a fighter to walk into an arena with that many people and that type of energy. It's a lot of pressure for both of them.
It's going to be very, very special. We've done fights here before at Wembley, Froch Groves, AJ Klitschko, AJ Povetkin, but this is with 94,000. Tyson Fury and Dillian Whyte will be just over there on Saturday night. It's a blockbuster fight in the heavyweight division. Let's talk a bit about Tyson Fury, of course, because we've known him over here for many years, but in the last 3 or 4, he's made his name in the States with the trilogy with Deontay Wilder, and he's just taken off.
From the moment that I heard of Tyson Fury, I said he is exactly what boxing needed. We've needed that energy. We needed someone to sort of bring that excitement, entertainment factor back to boxing, and he does that. He does. Not only is he talented and skilled and really checks all the boxes technique-wise, he brings the entertainment factor that I think we were missing, and I'm a huge fan. I'm definitely Team Tyson Fury going into this weekend.
He's charisma, he's box office, he's something different, he's unpredictable, and we love that in a sport. And the way he's gone from being top of the world against Klitschko, being down to rock bottom with the depression, the fight, and the weight he put on. And then I remember when he was 24, 25 stone, I saw him in Monaco, and he said, I'm going to be back in the ring, I'm going to be world heavyweight champion again. I never thought he'd be back in a gym, let alone a ring. It's an astonishing story.
Well, that's another great thing about him. He's so relatable. He also says, hey, look, I'm not perfect. I've been down. I've climbed my way to the top. It's okay. It's to not be okay. And he really stresses mental health, which I think is so important these days. Is a really great example for how you come back, and I think that's what makes him so relatable and people love him.
And in this fight, of course, Dillian Whyte has trod a very tough road as well. He had a really hard upbringing. He came to London, he settled down in Brixton. He didn't really speak English, he was bullied, he had a hard time, and then only 7 amateur fights. You know, he's done astonishingly well to sort of get himself into this position. He's fought, as he said in the press conference up there, sort of tooth and nail to get to this mandatory position. He's waited 1,000 days. He's beaten everybody in front of him that he's had to, and now he gets this golden opportunity. Michaela, it's one he's worked for and he deserves.
I think he definitely deserves this opportunity, and he has a totally different background and upbringing than Tyson did, but still the same. Everyone has struggled to get to the top. You know, boxing is full of people with amazing stories, and these two guys are no different. They both deserve to be in this position. I do think it puts a little extra pressure on Dillian Whyte. This really is his time to shine, and I know he's going to put on the performance of his life.
Now, this is a chance for him to go global, because we've known him in England for a long time. He's done box office fights. He's been in with the likes of Derek Chisora, Joseph Parker, who of course is part of Tyson Fury's camp, and Robert Helenius, many others. And I think that, you know, he's ready for this. He's a tough guy. He's got a lot of power, a big left hook, and nothing to lose. And of course, he's got that history with Tyson Fury. They sparred together, they knew each other, and they respect each other.
And you can tell that he does have a lot of respect for Dillian Whyte. You know, being in a camp together and sparring with each other definitely builds a certain type of relationship. You can't let that make you think he doesn't really know what Dillian Whyte is going to bring to the table, because there is something that you learn in sparring, and there is an element of surprise that gets taken away. And so they do know a little bit about each other, and it's going to make for an interesting fight.
And for the press conference, that was the first time that they came head to head, because of this strange build-up when Dillian's been in the Algarve. He hasn't played ball. What did you think there? Do you think there was a little bit of tension? There certainly was with the teams.
Well, I'm glad that Whyte finally showed up. This is the biggest stage that he's ever been on, and he has worked so hard for this opportunity and to be in this position. And so I want to see him take advantage of every single opportunity he has leading into this fight.
Tyson Fury says it's his show, and it's not. It's a big fight in the heavyweight division.
You always need an opponent. This isn't a fight without Dillian Whyte, and that rhymes.
Yeah, it does rhyme. And it's not just an opponent, he's a very, very good opponent who we know very well over this side of the pond, Dillian Whyte. And it was interesting in the press conference how Tyson Fury was saying the odds are ridiculous. You know, they're making a mockery of it, that he's a sort of red-hot favourite to win this. And really, it's heavyweight boxing, and they know each other, and they can both bang, and something's going to happen out there, something electric. And, you know, it's probably a closer fight than the bookies think.
Well, I can understand the odds because Tyson definitely has the bigger name. He's been more in the media. He's sort of demands this attention when he speaks. And so he is the more popular fighter going into this fight. But Dillian Whyte, this would not be a fight without him. And I think that because this is heavyweight boxing, like you said, you never know what's going to happen. You can't count anyone out. One punch can completely change the fight. And so even though I am Team Fury, I can't count out Dillian Whyte. You just never know what's going to happen in the ring. And there's a lot of great things that Whyte does. And so I'm going to assume that he's going to go in there and be the best version of him.
Let's just look at the nuts and bolts, the tactics here. Tyson Fury, the much bigger man, of course, with the reach and the natural boxing ability. Dillian Whyte with the warrior's heart and the big left hand. He's a counter puncher by trade, but he's also very difficult to get rid of. Alexander Povetkin and Anthony Joshua, the only two that have beaten Whyte. He's a tough warrior. So how does Fury deal with that? Orthodox southpaw on the outside, and how does Whyte counter that and get close and make it rough and personal?
Well, there's a lot of things that Fury has that is going to give him the advantage in this fight. One, his height and his reach. He has a significant height and reach advantage against Whyte, and not only does he have that height and reach advantage inches wise, he knows how to use his height and reach. And not just being tall and having a long reach doesn't necessarily give you an advantage. You really have to know how to use it. And that's one of my favorite things about Fury, is that he is a great boxer. He's heavy-handed and he's a big guy, but he is light on his feet. He stays behind his jabs and he lets his combinations go. So it's going to be difficult for Whyte to figure out how to close that space. I almost want to see a Tyson version, because otherwise Fury will keep him on the outside and pick him all day.
And Tyson Fury, of course, back in the day, he was thought of as a light-punching heavyweight, but now under the Kronk tutelage, he's got that power. We saw it in that second fight with Deontay Wilder, you know, who has the natural power, probably bigger than any heavyweight of this era, but he just negated that Fury with his own technical skills and mixing it up with aggression and some pop too.
Well, you know what he did in the fight against Wilder is he stayed disciplined, and that's my favorite thing about him, especially in that third fight, the trilogy. You could see Wilder sort of fading and becoming frustrated and throwing big bombs, but Fury stayed so composed. He stayed behind his jab. He didn't get flustered at all, and that's a disciplined fighter. That's a well-conditioned, disciplined fighter.
What about this little theory that the third fight, a tough fight, a heavyweight classic between Fury and Wilder, might have taken a little bit out of Tyson Fury? He is, you know, in mid-30s now. So would Dillian, but maybe that was a hard fight, possibly harder than any Dillian's had. Could that make a slight difference going into this? I guess we won't know until they're under the lights with the small gloves on.
I'll tell you something about having hard fights. They make you a better fighter. And I know this from experience. Coming out of the hardest fights in my life, everything I went through in that training camp didn't really come into fruition until the next training camp. And so he has hit a new level. He's a new fighter, I guarantee that. I know that the fight against Wilder was tough, and he did get knocked down, and he came up. That's another great thing I love about him. He's a tough fighter, has a ton of heart. But I think that fight taught him so much, and I think that gives a huge advantage against someone like Dillian Whyte.
Yeah, he does get up, but he does go down as well, and that's got to give Team Whyte a lot of confidence going into this, because I'm not sure if you've seen the Lucas Brown knockout from Dillian Whyte, Derek Chisora too. They were out cold, Michaela. He can bang.
He can definitely bang, and again, where Fury is going to be successful is the fact that he's so well conditioned. If I had to pick a more conditioned fighter, I would pick Fury, and you can see that through the length of his rounds. And being able to get knocked down by someone like Wilder and stand back up, it shows his conditioning, it shows his leg strength and his chin. So I think it's going to take more than just a hard punch from Whyte.
Okay, so let's get to Saturday night, the big stage, 94,000 in here. Who's that going to help more? Tyson Fury is the world heavyweight champion and the one that's sort of traveled the world, or Dillian Whyte as someone with no pressure on him, nothing to lose, and the opportunity of a lifetime?
Well, it's different. You know, Fury has this experience. He's walked into arenas with this size and this crowd, and so I don't think it phases him. That's why he's so great. He's able to handle this pressure and still be such a great entertainer and laugh his way through the whole fight week. So I think a little bit more pressure is on Whyte. The pressure is definitely on him, but you're right. He does have less to lose and more to gain.
But Michaela's pretty good at predictions. So at the tournament show we had the other week in Coventry, there were 8 of them. It was an open field. She went for one of the underdogs and she got it spot on as Dylan Shima won the lightweight tournament. So I'm going to ask you now for your prediction. Tyson Fury or Dillian Whyte to go home with the WBC heavyweight crown on Saturday night?
I'm going to go with Tyson Fury. I think that he just has so many good tools in his toolbox. He's technically sound, he's well conditioned, he's experienced, and I do think that Dillian Whyte is going to give him a tough fight. He's going to press his pace. His only option is to press the pace and hunt Fury down and try to land his big overhand right. But I do think that Fury will come out on top. I just think he's too disciplined and too sharp.
Tyson Fury definitely the favourite going into the blockbuster here at the National Stadium in the UK at Wembley on Saturday night. It should be an absolute firecracker. Dillian Whyte, don't write him off. He's got huge power and he's going to give it absolutely everything. Join us Saturday night. Michaela, maybe he's right again. I bet you are.
Probably.
Amazing.